Go has seen dramatic declines in burglary, robbery, and car break-ins following the 2022 recall of District Attorney Chesa Boudin and the appointment of Brooke Jenkins. Jenkins' aggressive prosecution strategy, coupled with expanded use of license plate readers and drones, has helped the city become significantly safer.
That is John Scott reporting. Crime rates, in fact, have dropped sharply. Car break-ins in San Francisco down 85%, robberies off 30%, burglaries down 33%, and homicides now at the lowest level since 1954. New technology playing a role, including 400 license plate readers and 80 drones, aiding in more than 1,000 arrests by providing real-time intelligence to police. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast, brought to you by Rain-X, America's #1 wiper blade. Starting this afternoon, patchy drizzle and scattered rain showers with a high near 53. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 35. Looking ahead to Saturday, a slight chance of rain showers, partly sunny, with a high near 56. Currently, it's 45 and overcast. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
You know that Chick-fil-A sells more than chicken, right?
Hello, my name is Jaleesa, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit is how it's all of my favorite breakfast items in one good bite. That fluffy egg, that melty cheese with that perfectly grilled sausage. It just gives you that warmth, that comfort food that you love. It is the best possible option for a classic breakfast.
Comfort is calling. Order a Chick-fil-A sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit with Simply Orange Juice on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Since 1960, Fox Valley Fire and Safety has been dedicated to caring for our customers and protecting our community. What began in a family basement with just 2 employees has grown into a team of more than 300, supported by nearly 200 service vehicles. But our mission has never changed. We're here to keep the people and businesses we serve safe. Our service technicians are available 24/7, 365 days a year, across Northern Illinois, because your safety can't wait. To learn more, visit foxvalleyfire.com or call 847-695-5990. A proud member of the Elgin Area Chamber of Commerce, supporting the local business community.
Fix bayonets, comrades. This is Chief Guard of the Republic Radio Veterans Shoutout Show with your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvid every Saturday noon until 2 here on 1410 WRMN AM out of Elgin. You could stream us live off the WRMN's website, WRMN1410.com, or you could watch us live on WRMN's YouTube channel. And so start it off, I want to give a shout out for our guys all at the Dunkin' Donuts Veterans at 7039 on Dempster. Every Tuesday they start at 9 o'clock sharp, but usually guys come in there at around 8 o'clock and they pass around information. They talk, they buy donuts, they have coffee, they have a good time. We get information out, usually over by 10:30. So any veteran is welcome. There's only about 100 guys there at a time. So, it's the most prolific and active, unofficial veterans organization in the world. I got to say in the world. I've seen state level American Legion meetings that didn't have 100 people at it. And I got one big shout out, as everyone knows. Last week we had a great show. Dutch DeGroot was there, and Jen Solom, and she's the head of the Illinois Association of Veterans Assistance Committees. And so that was such a great show. I guess the county was watching it, and they're going to have a board meeting, all right, on the 15th of April. That's this Wednesday, 15th of April, downtown at Cook County Board, 118 North Clark at 11 a.m. in the boardroom. So they will have a meeting relating to House Bill 5085, which we said was a bad bill. So I know Dutch is going to be down there. I'll probably be down there. I mean, it's just a blue line for me. I'm still brave enough to get on the blue line. And so that's a shout out for that. And this week, we're going to be talking about the differences between veteran organizations, because I think there might be a lot of confusion, not so much in the veteran community or in the veteran fraternal organization community like the Legion and the VFW. I think we're all up on how things work with that. But your general public that supports us, and some guys that might not be members of a veterans organization yet, might not know the exact difference of all these things. So, Paul, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Huge anxiety. I'm not going to say why, but a huge anxiety dropped off of me Thursday afternoon. So I'm feeling.
I bet.
Feeling real good about that. So the first thing I want to do is explain the levels of government and veterans affairs. All right. So there are government agencies that are, the government-run agencies for taking care of veterans, or for veterans affairs, looking after the veterans, the 1 or 2% of the guys and girls that have served the country and protect the country. You got to keep an eye on those guys because you want to keep them in good health and everything. And so they can support people training to become people to defend our country and everything. You want your veterans to be well taken care of, so that people see that if they become a veteran, if they join the service, and they're, after the service, that they will be taken care of. Because if people can't see that, it's very unlikely that they're going to put themselves at risk, and then have to suffer the rest of their life with no help. All right, so we have the Veterans Administration of the United States government. It's a cabinet position under the executive branch. It's run by the government. You hear about the VA hospitals, you hear about VA disability, and you hear about VA benefits. Those all come through the Veterans Administration of the U.S. government. It is funded entirely by the federal government, and it is run entirely by federal government employees and appointees, much like the Secretary of the Veterans Administration. So you go down on the next level, and you have the Illinois Department of Veteran Affairs. That's the state level, because right, Paul, we're a republic. So we're a collection of states under the federal government. So the states usually mimic a lot of what the feds do, or the feds mimic what the states are doing. So you have the Illinois Department of Veteran Affairs. Now, they are funded by the state of Illinois. I don't know if they get any federal funding. It didn't look that deep, but they are federal funds, are to the state, and then the state distributes them to the Illinois Department of Veteran Affairs. Now, they are, like I said, government funded, and then they are run by state of Illinois employees of the state of Illinois, that are hired by the state of Illinois. Now, just like in the Veterans Affairs, I don't know if I mentioned this, the Veterans Affairs, all the people working in the Department of Veteran Affairs for the federal government do not have to be veterans. They don't have to be. It'd be nice if they're all veterans. We'd have higher veteran employment rate, but they don't have to be. So the government doesn't have to hire veterans for those positions. The Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs is the same thing. They don't have to be veterans. They're government employees, state of Illinois employees. Now we go down one more level, and confusion is going to arise here, but we have the Cook County Department of Veteran Affairs. Again, they are solely funded by the county, and they are run by county employees, only county employees, and they don't necessarily have to be veterans either. And so I'm going to go real quick. You go down to a city. Now, I know I'm from a big city, Chicago. There might be suburbs that don't have these. They might have a guy doing 20 or 30 jobs, and one of them might be the guy that's in charge of Veterans Affairs in a smaller suburb. But Chicago actually has the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs, and they're funded by the city of Chicago and run by city employees, and these city employees are appointed, and of course, they don't have to be veterans either. It would be nice if they were. They would understand. Now, here's the kicker. Now we come down to what we talked about last week, all right? The Veterans Assistance Commission of whatever county. So for Cook County, where I'm from, it's the Veterans Assistance Commission of Cook County, the VACCC. Now, here's the thing. The VACCC is funded by county and state funds, right? County and state funds. But it is run by members of veterans organizations, members of veterans organizations, and they have a leadership, the officers that are elected by their peers, and they're all veterans. They're all veterans. So it's run by them, but it is funded by the county and state funds, but it's solely run by the veterans. All right, so this is the first level you get to where you have mandatorily run by veterans. Now, they do hire some employees like veteran service officers that don't need to be veterans, but the officers on the board are all veterans. Now, here's the thing. When you have a guy in emergency, he's under stress. What do they call it? He's on the edge or something. He really needs help. Immediate help. All right? The state in crisis. Guy in crisis. The state of Illinois Department of the Veterans Affairs will direct him to the county, all right, to the Veterans Assistance Commission of whatever county he's in. If the county Department of like the Cook County Department of Veteran Affairs gets a guy that's in crisis there, they will direct him to the Veterans Assistance Commission of Cook County, because those are the guys that are funded through the county and state funds, and they could help this guy immediately, either with cash, paying bills. Maybe he needs a bus card. It's simple as a bus card. A guy that, down at his luck, maybe he's got a place to live, but he needs to get around to get to VA appointments or job interviews, and he doesn't have access to transportation. He doesn't have any money in his pocket. They might do something as simple as give him a bus card, which could change his life. But Cook County Mayor's Office of Veteran and the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs, they don't have the funds to do that. All right. So when you get this House Bill 5085 down there, right?
Yes.
And it says that, let's say all of a sudden I get a lot more guys in crisis, and I've only had a quote county approve. I put in a budget, and the county had to approve it via House Bill 5085, which we don't like, right? And now I have to go for the supplemental budget saying that I overspent my budget because I gave out too many bus cards. At what point do I stop giving out these bus cards? See, that's why the bill is really bad. But that's the good thing about this. I mean, really, when I learned from Jen Solom that this stuff has been since the 1800s, right after the Civil War, that this has been around, right? To take care of immediate needs of these veterans. This is like amazing. Someone was thinking back then. Someone was thinking to take care. And who directs it? Not bureaucrats. Veterans who know what veterans need, like peers, not elected bureaucrats, right? They're elected by their peers to serve on this board, on this Cook County Veterans Assistance Commission of Cook County. We elected. They're all veterans, right? And they know what to do. All right, veterans can police themselves. Veterans can control themselves. Veterans can know how to do a budget. Most of these guys have professional lives that way outshine mine. These guys are some smart guys running businesses and everything, and they know what they're doing. So now that I've explained all that of what these government, okay, so then we have like a little quasi-government thing, all right, because it gets a lot of government funding, right? The USO, United Servicemen's Organization. It's quasi, all right? So you'll see them on airports and you'll see them on military bases. All right, there'll be a USO there. And of course, they're not paying for rental in the military base. It's called donation in kind sort of thing. But they get a grant. They get grants from the federal government because they do great things for service members. In Afghanistan, in Bagram, man, if you weren't paying $1 billion to Alibaba, right? The Chinese, Alibaba, right? The Chinese were running the internet there. So you get internet to your tent, right? You get a wired router to your tent, and you'd be getting like 1 kilobit per hour. But at least you get an email if you waited long enough for it to load. Well, if you couldn't afford to pay for that, you're a low-level guy, or you couldn't put a Wi-Fi in there and then share it, which, you go to the USO and you get onto their Wi-Fi if it wasn't overcrowded. And they'd have popcorn, they'd have some drinks there, they'd have a television going, and they'd have a line for using a telephone and everything. But it was a great morale booster. And believe me, when you're isolated out there, you need kind of morale booster. So that's the USO, and the government does fund them. The other thing I ran into is the Army Emergency Relief, all right? Now, I thought it was a guy, my whole 38-year career, I think, it's a government, right? It's not. It's a 501c3, all right? And they ask, the thing is that I think they get most of their donations from the Army itself. So what it is I got a guy in the Army, and he has a tragedy in his family. And this guy, a lot of these young guys have a couple kids, and they're low rank, and they don't have a lot of cash, but now he's got to fly cross country, maybe with his kids, to go to his mother's funeral, a close family member's funeral or something, all right? He could apply to Army Emergency Relief, and they could give him a loan or a grant for that flight, all right? So, and then they go and they solicit every year, maybe, and they want you to sometimes even have a deduction taken out of your check every month just to go to Army Emergency Relief, right? So they're kind of, so now that I got that explained, after this call here, we're going to go into the veterans organizations that are not government controlled. Who we got out there? Hello?
You got me, Mike. Dutch DeGroot.
Hey, Dutch.
Hey, Dutch.
I just want to call. Thank you so much again, you and Paul, for having us on your show. And we've gotten miles out of it. I think we've woke a couple of people up. But I just want to clarify one thing. We do not get state funding for the VAC. It all comes from the county per the Military Veterans Assistance Act. And besides that, you're spot on with just about everything. And again, I will be remotely probably at this meeting Wednesday because it's my birthday.
Happy birthday, Dutch.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm not probably taking all of it off, but I'm going to do a little testimony there. And I hope a lot of veterans come down there, and I hope you testify. I think our commissioners really had a message from the radio show, and I commend them for it. They took quick action to actually do the right thing. They're talking to our staff a little more now. We're getting some things done. And, again, it was probably because we were able to get on air on your show, Mike and Paul, and I thank you guys so much.
Well, I hope John Daly's going to be down there because I'm going to bring my photo that when my dad was a detective on Chicago when I was like 7 years old, I went down and had my picture taken with the old Mayor Daley, his father. So I want to show that to John Daly.
Well, John Daly's a great guy.
Yes, he's a nice guy.
I got him on my phone, and he responds when I call him. Most of the commissioners, like I said, that's why I was so shocked about this, that some of this came from Cook County. We don't know who yet, but I have to say one thing, that one of the, I think, hurdles that we had to pass was somebody that was giving bad information to Madam President and some of the commissioners, and they took care of this right away. So I commend our county folks for doing that, and hopefully they can understand that we are here to partner with them, and we definitely want to partner with them. We want to bring money into Cook County. We want to help veterans. That's our only mission.
Yeah. I've always found President Preckwinkle to be a very classy president.
Yes. And they all are. I mean, we got a great, that's why I was there. Where is this coming from? And I plan to testify remotely, Mike. If you're down there, God love you. I hope you got a lot of company. I've been getting a few phone calls. Can I come? But I got to say, well, it's Uncle Dutch's birthday. I got to celebrate a little bit too, but I'm not taking the whole day off.
All right. Thanks, Dutch.
Okay. Thank you, buddy. Bye now.
Bye.
All right. And maybe my clarifying that the state doesn't directly, but they give money to the county, and the county can use that money. All right. So now here's a thing that really, so we got these big veterans organizations out there, and then we have, so a veterans organization, what I'm describing as a veterans organization, I'm going to describe it as a 501c19. Now, this is under the Chapter 26 of the U.S. Code, right? Or Title 26.
It's
Title 26 of the U.S. Code.
It's the Internal Revenue Code.
Yeah.
And there are actually, because you mentioned it about what Jen told you, there's actually another group under 501c23, and those are real old veterans organizations that have been around before 1880.
Yes. So the American Legion has not been around before 1880. All right, so you have a 501c19. So the big ones, everyone's heard of American Legion, all right? The American Legion, 501c19. And a lot of the posts operate under their own EIN numbers, employee identification numbers for the IRS, all right? Some of these organizations, they all operate under one EIN, national EIN. So you have the VFW, the next one, Veterans of Foreign Wars. All right, that's a big one. Another big one is most recent, well, not the veterans of the Vietnam Veterans of America. All right, they're another big one. They're a 501c19. And I could go down the list. I could pull up a list, but it's pretty easy to pull up of all the 501c19s. One of the things it says is that you have to have 95% of your membership has to be a veteran of a war, All right. So the key thing was that they considered if you were, quote, at war, was that if you had a national defense medal. And there were certain times in the 80s, the late 70s, and the 80s, when, and I believe the 90s, and, up until Afghanistan hit, where that was not the case, where you didn't get a national defense medal just for having one day on active duty because it wasn't open. It wasn't open there. And that barred a lot of people from joining one of these organizations because it says war, all right? So in 2019, the Senate bill, I forget the number, but the Senate sponsored a bill called the Legion Act. And that was to allow all veterans to join veterans organizations. And President Trump signed it, and it basically stated that we have been in a state of war since December 7th, 1941. So anyone that's ever been in the service, even though they don't have a national defense medal on their 214, right, they still entitled to join one day of service where you were not dishonorably discharged. So that opened up the door for a lot more people to join the American Legion. Now, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, you would have to have gone overseas. The Vietnam veterans, you have to be a Vietnam-era veteran, which goes up to 1975, all right? There's other ones out there, 501c19s, like the Special Forces Association. They're a 501c19. And also like, all right, so you hear about the DAV, Disabled American Veterans, all right? Now, they're, I believe, a 501c4. We get
3 minutes.
Yeah, they're 501c4, so it's kind of like a fraternal organization, but they work to help, right? So that covered people that before the Legion Act, all right? So you didn't need to be a veteran of a war to be a disabled American veteran. One of the things, now you see other organizations out there that mimic veterans organizations, but they're 501c3s. They are charitable organizations. And some of them, like the Wounded Warrior Project, not a veterans organization, a charitable organization. Other organizations out there, real quick, the Montanans Against Tax Hike. They're a 501c4 claiming to be some sort of military veteran organization. They have $1.3 billion in revenue. They have $0 in assets, and they have 0 employees. I don't know how that worked out, but $1.3 billion, and they're considering themselves a veterans organization. And after 38 years in the military, I ain't never heard of them. So that was an easy look. All right, so
Mike, 2 things. Under 501c19, that's the federal regulation. That's basically the tax code that for exempt organizations. The only requirement is that 75% of the membership be actual veterans. The group can have a different category, but federally, they only have to have 75%. And a 501c4, contributions to them are not tax deductible. Okay. Right. So 501c19s, C23s, those would be totally tax deductible.
All right. So that's what you're talking is with the 70 above there, there's a mention of 95%. All right.
It's
and below it, 75%.
It's
the 75% is associates. Yeah, 97.5. So like I'm a member of the Legion because I'm an actual veteran, but we have associates and we have Sons of American Veterans. Cells, right? And they not necessarily veterans, but they're 2 degrees of separation. All right, see you back in a few minutes for the Chief Guard of the Republic.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN. 2-0 win for the White Sox over the Royals at Kauffman Stadium Thursday. Anthony Kay allowed 3 hits over 5 2/3 to earn his first major league win since July of 2021. Sir Anthony Dominguez picked up his second save of the season, and Chicago was able to snap a 14-game losing streak at Kauffman. Royal starter Seth Lugo allowed 2 runs over 6 1/3. He struck out 4 and allowed 4 hits, but also issued a season-high 4 walks. The teams play the second game of a 4-game series tonight. Chicago sends ready Davis Martin to the mound. He's 2-0. Kansas City will go with left-hander Chris Bubick, who's 1-1 on the season. The Cubs were off Thursday. They're home this afternoon hosting the Pirates. Shota Imanaga gets the start as the Cubs look to make it 3 straight wins. On the ice, Carolina beat Chicago 7-2. NBA, the Bulls over the Wizards 119-108. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. I'm Chuck Sanders on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
Something big is happening at Macy's. 60% off diamonds, 30 to 50% off the latest spring sandals and shoes, plus thousands more deals across the store. This is Macy's biggest spring sale, and these are some of the best deals of the season. The kind where you walk out wondering, how did I get all that? Really, don't sleep on this. Macy's biggest spring sale today. Savings off select prices. Exclusions apply.
This is the highlight of my morning. Hey, what's up? It's Island.
And I'm Josh.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit is that it's our go-to morning comfort.
You've got that nice golden fluffy egg.
With a soft, flaky biscuit.
Crispy bacon.
Melty cheese.
You want something quick, you want something convenient, but most of all, you want something good.
There's no better way to start your morning.
There we go.
Start off the morning with a Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit with Simply Orange Juice. Order on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Are you dreaming of a getaway? Want to leave the stress of daily life behind? Whether it's a relaxing cruise or an adventurous land escape, planning the perfect vacation doesn't have to be a hassle. At Cruises International, they specialize in vacation destinations, land and sea, making your dreams come true. Located at 1721 Moon Lake Boulevard in Hoffman Estates, Cruises International isn't just about booking travel. They're your personal concierge, trusted travel advisor, and advocate. Your preferences are unique, and they'll take the time to understand exactly what you're looking for. From personalized service to their global network of specialists, they ensure that your vacation is tailor-made just for you. It's time to plan the vacation of a lifetime. Call 800-255-7447. That's 800 255-7447 today and speak to a cruise and vacation expert. Cruises International. It's time to set sail to your dream destination.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast, brought to you by Rain-X, America's #1 wiper blade. Starting this afternoon, mostly cloudy with a high near 56. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 35. Looking ahead to Saturday, a slight chance of rain showers with a high near 56. Saturday night brings a chance of rain showers and thunderstorms with a low around 50. Currently, it's 48 and overcast. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Fixed Bayonets, comrades. This is Chief Guard of the Republic radio show with your co-hosts Mike Tuman and Paul Burvid every Saturday, noon until 2. This is the second quarter of our show at the 12:30 hour. And we're here on WRMN 1410.com. You can stream us live. Go to WRMN 1410.com and say, play now, and boom, there you go. Or my favorite is the YouTube live. And I'll go into my house before I leave for the radio show here, and I'll put it on the Fire Stick, on my laptop, on my other computer, and it's being viewed. Yeah, it's being viewed by my girlfriend in different rooms. But the more of you guys view it on, that's where we really get some hard hits in here. I mean, other than getting texts and stuff, which we haven't gotten yet today, right? And calls, where we really get a count is our YouTube Live channel. And when they play that. So if you want to see my pretty face, go to that YouTube Live. And so here we go. I did print up, and this is through AI, so God knows how accurate it is. But I said the top 10 501c19 organizations by membership, largest amount of membership. So it goes down. The American Legion, these are 501c19s according to artificial intelligence, AI. The Veterans of Foreign Wars, so American Legion, also known as AL out there, right? The Veterans of Foreign Wars, many people know it by the VFW, right? Two separate organizations. Disabled American Veterans, the DAV, it says this, commonly a 501c4, but sometimes listed in veterans groups. So it's a C4. So that's where, they threw it out. But I've said by membership. So the three top ones got with the DAV. Then you got the AMVETS, the Military Officers Association of America, MOA. So I've heard of them. The VVA is next in line. The Marine Corps Association, those Marines, they stick together. They're very proud of the fact that they're Marines. And the Marine Corps Association, even though the Marine Corps is the smallest, well, I wonder, are they smaller than the Coast Guard? Well, the smallest Department of Defense organization is the Marine. Well, no, I got to change my mind. It's probably Space Force now, right? But Marine Corps, those guys are solid, all right? And they like huddling together. So they have the Marine Corps Association, the Association of the U.S. Army, all right? ALSA, they're a big one, right? And this gets into a key thing that most 501c3s, right, the purely charitable organizations are kind of banned from doing political lobbying. But on behalf of veterans and service members, these 501c19s can lobby on behalf of the veterans. And I don't mean they could politically go to meetings like I'm going to go on Wednesday and say, hey, we're veterans, help us out. Air and Space Force Association. So they did combine. So they're down there. Navy League of the United States, the Army and Navy Union of the United States of America. I wonder if that's one of those really old ones. Airlift Tanker Association. Who would have known? Number 12. Just the guys that are in airlift and tankers. Well, that's most of the Air Force out there. Jewish War Veterans of America, the Catholic War Veterans of USA, the Military Order of the Purple Heart, NCOA, the Non-Commissioned Officers Association of America. You hear that, the non-commissioned officers, that includes Army sergeants, Marine sergeants, Navy petty officers, Air Force sergeants, Coast Guard petty officers, Non-Commissioned Officers Association. The National Guard Association of the United States is number 19, and number 20 is American Ex-Prisoners of War. So those are the big 20. There's other ones out there. Polish Legion of American Veterans is out there. There's a few more out there, right? Not as many members, but they're 501c19s. Where's it going? So here's the thing. There's a lot of 501c3s out there that mimic the names of these actual 501c19 veteran organizations. But they use the names and they use some of the stuff to say we support veterans or we're here to support veterans. Unfortunately, those don't have the oversight of a C19. Like you said, a C19, 95% like of the regular members have to be actual veterans, right? And the other, when you get to 75%, they're considering associate members. All right, so you got the auxiliary or associate or auxiliary members, like the American Legion Auxiliary. Now, a lot of them are also Legion members. They're full Legion members because they were veterans. These are female veterans. The auxiliary was for the wives of veterans. All right, but if you're female and you were a veteran, you could also be in the auxiliary. Right, so they joined the auxiliary. Now, the only way to be in the auxiliary is like, my husband, if I'm a woman and my husband was in, but I was never in, I could join the auxiliary. My dad was, my daughter would be like, oh, well, my dad was in, I could join the auxiliary. Or my grandfather was in, I could join the auxiliary. Or my grandmother was in, I could join the auxiliary. Or my mother was in, I could join the auxiliary. And they have a thing called the Sons of the Legion, the SEL, Sons of the American Legion. The same thing, but this is for guys. Like, I'm, Paul, like you, your dad was in the service, so you could be in the Sons of the American Legion. And if your dad wasn't in the service, but your grandfather was, or your grandmother, or your mother was, you could join the Sons of the Legion, American Legion. All right? And if you're a member of any of these, all right, the Legion, the Sons of the Legion, or the auxiliary, you could be a member of the Legion Riders. So they call that together the Legion family. But if you take the whole count of the whole Legion family, then 75% of them have to be service members. So 75% for the whole organization, which I'm pretty sure it works out. But so that is, the way that works out with the 501c19. Now they're supposed to, and you'll look, if you look it up, Google it and everything, the 501c3 organizations, look up their CEOs and see how much their president, their board makes, right? These guys pay themselves unbelievable. They get paid unbelievable amounts of money, right? Salaries, $110,000, $175,000, but I've seen like $1 million and everything, right? Where if you look at the president of the American Legion, maybe he gets a stipend and he gets some travel money and he gets a per diem, right? But he's not getting paid to do that. That's not a full-time job for him. He's elected into that office, right? He has full-time people working for him, but none of them are making $450,000 a year, right? That money, we pay a membership fee at our post, right? And then we have to pay a per capita up to our state, our higher office, and a per capita to our district. So we send some to district, we send some to state, and then the state sends it up to national. That's how national funds the stuff. not a lot of it stays down at the post, but what does stay down with our fundraisers and everything goes to local veterans that need help. All right, local. It's grassroots. When you take, I don't want to get in trouble naming organizations, but let's say any veterans 501c3. If you don't check it out, and you're seeing them advertise on the Super Bowl, or some big payment for that, big advertising constantly on TV or whatever, using paid celebrities. Not a lot of celebrities are doing it out of goodness of their heart, right? Paid celebrities for this stuff. Where's their money really going? Where's the money really going? It's going to some of these places. I'm looking at them, and they're like, one place was like for every $100 that they bring in, right? They have $101 worth of advertising or overhead. So that really, if I was like at the IRS, that would raise a red flag to me. How can you be fundraising less than you're spending? And you're non-for-profit. You're a negative profit. All I think is that some of that money's going kickbacky, right? But here's my advice. If you want to support veterans, grassroots, right? If you want to support veterans that are actually serving, right, that are American service members, best one, beyond a doubt, is the USO. They provide on-the-ground, immediate help and everything else for these guys. They could apply for that. They're well recognized. They're out there. And most of their employees are volunteers that are veterans. You go to O'Hare, you got a couple guys sitting there. They're veterans. They're helping out, or they're people that just want to help out. The one, Atlanta has a great one. Oh, my God. The Atlanta USO is awesome. The USO in Seattle was really good, too. San Francisco had a nice one. Most of the airports I've been to have had nice USOs. The big, even Detroit had a nice one. A place where GIs can wait. And if you got a first-class ticket, you go down to the Admiral Club and everything, But if you're just some poor private GI flying on government ticket, you go to the USO, hope they're open. So that's my suggestion here. If you want to help a veteran, or if you're a veteran out there and you want to give to a veteran, join one of these groups. Yes. Anyone that's had a bad experience trying to join the Legion or the VFW or the VVA or anything like that, here's the thing. These are run by local personalities, are usually the commanders, the adjutants and everything. These are local guys come in there because you don't want to travel 50, 60 miles to go to a meeting. So there's local posts. Some have bars, some don't. Some don't even have a clubhouse, right? They don't even have a post to meet at. They have to meet at the library, or we meet at a community center. Right? If you don't like that one, go to another one. Go to a different one. If you want to be very specific, if you're a veteran and you want to give back to veterans, join one of your local veterans organizations, a 501c19, not one of the 501c3s, unless it's the USO. That's the one I say, go volunteer at the USO. All these, we talked several months ago when Dutch was on. Dutch had mentioned this, and we were fighting against the claim sharks, the VA claim sharks, right? And how they make money off veterans that are in crisis. These guys are in need and everything. And these guys go in and they say, well, I get this for you, but it's going to cost you so much. The bill didn't stop that. All the bill said was, when these guys come in, you got to tell them everything that you're going to do for them, they could get done for free, right? For free. And add a veteran with a VSO, a veteran service officer, and there's a list of them out there. And VSOs are not funded by the VA. They're funded by groups like the VACCC, who's hired, they got 2, and I believe 2 in training, or they're hired by the American Legion. So some of our money that goes up to national, those employees, those guys are paid VSOs by the American Legion. The VFW pays for them. Disabled American Veterans pays for some. Veteran service officers, all right, that help veterans, on a one-on-one level, all right? They're not throwing this big... There's stories that some of these 501c3s take a guy that's really, he's in crisis, and they grab onto him, and they do a reality show makeover on the guy. New house, new clothes, haircut and everything. Get him all set up, a new car, new truck or whatever. Get him set up on the house and everything. And then they're filming it the whole time. They're taking their photo shots, their opportunities, and then they find the next gimmick, and they just abandon the dude. I've heard a lot of stories about that. Maybe they were wrong. Maybe people have made it up. If you got a story about that, call in. If you think I'm nuts, call in. Hey, Paul, what you got something to say on because you work charitable trust and fraud. How much?
Yeah, we used to have a thing where you always want to look at what they call their program services versus administrative costs. Okay. And and you got to watch out with groups, particularly what you're talking about, because professional fundraisers, they take usually 90% of the money, and then they give 10% of it to the group. And a lot of small groups, to that, any kind of money they get is really great, and they'll take that deal, okay? And some of the groups you're mentioning, like some of them, there's some good veterans organizations out there. Some of them, give 93 to 95% of their money to the program. And there's a couple of CFOs out there that take nothing, and then there's some groups that give 99, 90, 100% of their money to the program services. But then you get other groups where, they give less than 70% or around 70%, or like I said, it's all in who's doing the fundraising. And what we used to tell people is, we used to ask them, when they get a cold call, do you want to help veterans or police organizations? Same thing goes for police and fire. We ask them, are you a paid fundraiser? And then they'll say, yeah. And then, that should tip you off. And then if you really want to give to the group, just go on the website, find their address, and donate it to yourself. Don't
donate directly.
Right. Because then 100% of your money's going there, not, 77 or 50 or 30 or 90s being taken away. So you always want to do your research. And there's a thing, the Better Business Bureau offers a way to look up charities, and then there's a thing called Charity Watch.
Yeah.
And you should always educate yourself on the group that you're giving the money to, and you should maybe contact them yourself. I mean, there's tons of groups, like you mentioned, 20, and then there's others that I have, like that give money, like I looked into it, like Tunnel to Towers. They're kind of a veterans group, but
they're a 501c3.
Right. They give 95 to 93%.
Yeah, they're a great organization. They're a fantastic organization.
Right. And that's the one that has the CFO that takes nothing. And then there's a group called Vet Tickets, or Vet Tix. They provide veterans and their families with tickets to sporting events and concerts. They give 99.3% to that function. So it's like entertainment. Then you got Fisher House, which gives about 90%.
So Fisher House, Fisher House, for people that don't know, all the VA hospitals in the area. Everyone's heard of Ronald McDonald House, right? For the kids that go to children's hospitals, and these kids are really sick, right? And their parents can't afford, they have to bring these kids to hospitals far away from their home because they might live in a rural area or an area that isn't being serviced. So they got to go to a hospital that is specifically going to service these kids, right? So their families can't afford to get a hotel room, can't afford any of this. So they have the Ronald McDonald House where the families could stay near with their kids or with their kids, right? Which is very important to kids. So the same thing with the Fisher House. And this was started by a guy named Fisher, of course. And I think it was in Boston or New York. Anyways, he set up a house near a VA hospital, right? And that was where, if you were the family of a veteran that's in one of these hospitals and you're staying far out, you can't go back and forth every day to visit this guy and everything, that they provided a place for you to stay, right, at the VA hospital on VA grounds, right, where you could go visit your loved one, your veteran loved one, mom, dad, whatever. You could be with them. That's important to healing. That's important to, that's very important, right? And the Fisher House does this. This is all, it's not government. The only thing the government does is say, yeah, you can use this land on the VA campus. So they just built a brand new one up in Lovell, the old Great Lakes Naval Hospital, right? And there's the Great Lakes VA there, and they combined them. They built a new one, and they combined the Great Lakes Naval Hospital with the VA up there, which has been done in a couple other locations. I know Fort Belvoir has a combined one, all right? And they have a nice one over there at Hines Hospital, all right? And, every Thursday they serve breakfast, like a public breakfast. And in veterans groups, I know one of the Legion or the VFWs goes down there on Thursdays, and they donate their time and the food to feed people, like the people that are staying there or anyone that comes by to look at the Fisher House. And they'll give you a tour and explain everything to you. Fisher House is a fantastic organization. Okay, continue on, Paul.
And then you got like groups like Operation First Response and the Semper Fi for the Marines. These are all groups that give 90 to 100% of their donations, which is what you kind of want.
Yep.
And they provide valuable services, like you're saying, to the veteran's family, for the wife or the caregiver, the kid, or whatever, or the brothers or the sisters or the mothers or the fathers. So these are the kind of things you want to look to. You don't want to just, give because some mope is calling you and he's going to take 90% of your money and that's his main job. And he's sitting in what we used to call a boiler room somewhere. And,
most of them are work from home now.
That could be true too. Yeah.
I get calls. I've been getting calls like for finances, right? And
right.
You could tell they're not working from home or whatever. And they want me to like refinance my house, right? And I tell them, I says, okay, 2.25%. You guys eat all the closing costs. You don't roll them into the loan. I want to borrow exactly the equity I have in my house right now, right? I want to only borrow what I own on my house. I want it at 2.25%. I don't want you to add on any closing costs or anything, any points or anything. And they're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, click. I says, why you bother me then if you can't make that decision? Don't call me until you can do that. Right? Yeah. All right. So I can understand, right? You have to have like the American Legion down in Bloomington, the headquarters for Illinois, down in Bloomington. They have maybe half a dozen employees there, full-time employees. These people are getting paid. They have a secretary, a membership. These people are there full-time, handling the problems and organization for the entire Illinois. And we got hundreds of Legion halls in Illinois. And so, yeah, these people are getting paid a wage, a fair wage. You know, no one down there is making $300,000 a year because we would throw a fit over that. I'm like, well, you know, I don't make that much money. What makes you that you could have that? Well, and one of the things, this ticks me off, and I'm going to get in trouble for it, I know. But we put out $2 million to sponsor a race car. This is the American Legion. $2 million to sponsor for a membership and to get more donations and everything. We gave the guy driving that race car more publicity than he gave us, and we're paying him to give us publicity, not for us to give him publicity. And then they doubled down on it, and each year we lost 2% membership. So how do you justify that, you know? There's a problem, too. But, yeah, I'm going to get... So, come back for the second half of the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show.
When your car's feeling sluggish, don't stress. Just bring it down to Britain's Express Oil and Lube on Larkin Avenue in Elgin. For a fast, friendly 10-minute oil change and a full 18-point inspection, they've got you covered. Whether it's engine service, fluids, filters, or headlight check, they do it right. And they do it fast. Family run, quality service, right in your neighborhood. Swing by today and keep your ride running smooth. Britain's Express Oil and Lube, your car's health partner in Elgin, a proud sponsor of America's First Responders Fest.
Hi, this is Sue with Newman's Corner Pub in Hampshire, Illinois. Are you looking for the perfect hangout spot? Swing by Newman's Corner Pub right at the corner of 72 and State Street in Hampshire. Enjoy fantastic drinks, live music, and a fun crowd that makes every visit special. Test your luck with our hot slots and our Queen of Hearts drawing every Saturday at 3 p.m. Challenge your friends to darts or pool while you're here. Newman's Corner Pub, where every day feels like a weekend. Visit us at Route 72 and State Street in Hampshire. That's Newman's Corner Pub, your new favorite spot.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 1 o'clock.
With your news flash, I'm Ryan Gatenby. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A. The Illinois House has passed a bill restricting where federal immigration detention centers can operate. The measure would limit facilities near homes, schools, and other community spaces, drawing opposition from Republicans. The proposal now heads to the Senate for further consideration. The Illinois House has passed a bill requiring public high schools to offer voter registration to eligible students during the school day. Supporters say the measure is aimed at encouraging civic engagement among young voters. Advocates say it could boost youth voter participation. State Representative Ryan Spain is calling for a gas tax holiday as fuel prices rise sharply across the state. The proposal would pause the state's sales tax on gasoline for 6 months to provide relief to drivers as average prices have climbed more than $1 in recent weeks. I'm Ryan Gatenby with your news flash.
Pump up the volume. Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Meet Morgan Jones. Morgan is about to step into a world unknown to most, thanks to Progressive's Renters Insurance, a place of fresh linens and turn-down service. You see, Morgan temporarily vacated her apartment and has gone to a hotel because a pipe burst in her apartment, a pipe that made her sense of reality and apartment ceiling all come crashing down. Luckily, Morgan checked into Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN. The Cubs were off Thursday. They're home this afternoon hosting the Pirates. Shota Imanaga gets the start as the Cubs look to make it 3 straight wins. 2-0 win for the White Sox over the Royals at Kauffman Stadium Thursday. Anthony Kay allowed 3 hits over 5 2/3 to earn his first Major League win since July of 2021. Sir Anthony Dominguez picked up his second save of the season, and Chicago was able to snap a 14-game losing streak at Kauffman. Royals starter Seth Lugo allowed 2 runs over 6 1/3. He struck out 4 and allowed 4 hits, but also issued a season-high 4 walks. The teams play the second game of a 4-game series tonight. Chicago sends righty Davis Martin to the mound. He's 2-0. Kansas City will go with left-hander Chris Bubic, who's 1-1 on the season. On the ice, Carolina beat Chicago 7-2. NBA, the Bulls over the Wizards 119-108. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
I'm Chuck Sanders on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Progressive knows you want to get away, but not like too away. You crave the unknown, but also charcuterie boards with 4 types of cheese. And that's exactly why you bought an RV and bundled it with Progressive, because 24/7 protection is one luxury you'll never have to give up. So go ahead, explore the wilderness, all from the comfort of your zero-gravity cab chair. Switch to Progressive and protect your RV, boat, or motorcycle by bundling with your home or auto insurance. Progressive Casualty.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast, brought to you by Rain-X, America's #1 wiper blade. Starting this afternoon, mostly cloudy with a high near 56. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 35. Looking ahead to Saturday, a slight chance of rain showers with a high near 56. Saturday night brings a chance of rain showers and thunderstorms with a low around 50. Currently, it's 48 and overcast. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Welcome to downtown Elgin, where businesses, community, and creativity come together. The Downtown Neighborhood Association provides valuable, complimentary services to all downtown businesses, organizations, property owners, and residents, helping you gain exposure and thrive. Whether you're already part of the district or exploring a new downtown location, DNA is here to help your vision grow. Join us in creating a vibrant, connected, and successful downtown Elgin. Call now 847-488-1456, or you can email info@downtownelgin.com. As for Jennifer Facala, Downtown Neighborhood Association, where the heart of business beats strong.
Fix bayonets, comrades. This is Chief Guard of the Republic Radio Show with your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday noon until 2, and we're on the 1 to 2 hour here. You can tune us in on WRMN's YouTube live channel, WRMN 1410. Just go to YouTube, search WRMN 1410, then go to the live feed, and you'll see me and Paul there right now. And there's a slight second delay, though. You could go to 1410 a.m., 1410 on the AM dial if you're close enough, like within, I don't know, by O'Hare or something. It's 2,000 watts blasting out of Elgin. So do the math. If you know anything about wave propagation, or you're an HF radio enthusiast or amateur radio enthusiast, you know what I'm talking about. Or you could just take your cell phone up, or your computer up, or you could even go to Alexa or whatever, who the other one is, I don't know, Siri, and say, hey, play 1410 a.m. out of Elgin, and boop, it'll come up. But if you go to WRMN1410.com, bam. Our call-in number here is 847-931-1410. The magic text number out of New Mexico, it's actually a Google number, 505-926-1410. All right, Paul, so that's the thing that you got to be really careful with these charitable organizations, because some of them are just, they're just a grab, you know. If you're able to give yourself a nice name like Leering Center, Leering Center, right? And you fill out the paperwork and it all gets rubber stamped. And then you go out there and you start soliciting funds and you open the bank account and put all the funds in the bank account. And suddenly one day you cash out and leave. And none of those funds ever got distributed to any charity. Well, it's just because people gave you the money, right? And there's so many people there giving you the money, and you're the officers of the corporation, right? Or you're the officers of the company, so you're not going to file charges against yourself because you're splitting this money up evenly. Who's really investigating the fraud, right? And how many victims do you have? So if I give them like $50 and that money never goes to any charity at all, right? It's just them taking the $50 and buying a $50 cigar with it, right? Because I gave them the money, basically gave them the money. Well, who's going to prosecute that? Right.
Well, it's supposed to be the Attorney General. And there's a mechanism set up. That's where I worked for the first 5 years in my career. And there's a charitable trust division where, they're supposed to file reports with the IRS. They're called 990s. Yeah. And then they filed the Illinois 990. And those files are available. Now, you can request the federal Form 990 from the IRS, but what they tell you to do is contact the organization and ask them to provide you with the 990s for whatever year you want. So you're relying on them to provide you with the accurate information, and then depending on how much money they make or if they have a professional fundraiser, they're supposed to have what they call an audited opinion. And then in theory, it's supposed to be unqualified, meaning qualified means they found some issue, like they said, cannot verify, expenditures for this amount, So, and that's supposed to be a check and balance on it also, that you had, and that's what we were kind of talking about last week. There's a requirement that you have an audit on certain things, and then the audit has to be done by a CPA who, they're licensed, and then they give an opinion. And then, they say, we were able to look at all the books and records, and based on the standards of accounting principles, this organization has, either A, complied, or B, did not comply, or there was a significant, change in a loss of revenue, and it was from this, or there was and I'm not saying this, I'm not naming it, but there was an embezzlement, or there was missing funds, or things like that. So then you're supposed to look at that and then decide for yourself whether, you want to trust them with your money.
Yeah. So I did the 990s for the Legion and for the Knights of Columbus. And if you don't bring in over $25,000 a year, it used to be a postcard just saying, yep, we're still here, didn't bring in more than $25,000. But now you got to do an actual 990. And I did the whole form, I had this fillable PDF, right? I typed it all in, really annoying, right? Because there's no computations done for you or anything. Got it all done, printed it out, sent it to the IRS, they bounce it back. Why? And they're like, oh, we only take it online now. So now I'm really getting insanely livid, right? On account of they're using third-party providers for this online service. It's not, because I spent like a day fine-toothing the entire IRS website looking for where I would submit it to the IRS and where they had a fillable PDF that I could submit in, or an email address or something where I could just email it to them, or anything to electronically submit this. And I find out it's only through these third-party providers. And I'm like, man, if I have to pay a dime for this, 10 cents for this, to log into this, 10 cents of my own money to file this with the IRS, that's a robbery. That's where some guy's got his cornered the market, and the IRS is giving him this, right? And he's making money off me, a charitable organization, just so I could submit a form required by the IRS. It's like, you have to submit this form, but then you got to pay us $100 to do it. I'm like, wow. Wow, you're taxing a non-taxable organization, right? And then I got through it, and they're like, you don't make $25,000. It doesn't cost you a dime. I'm like, okay, I worried about that for nothing, right? But that's...
Well, they flipped the script on people because to start this out, they have what they call an IRS determination letter.
Yes.
Okay? And it's a real long process. You have all these papers, and you got to fill this out.
You got to have your minutes. You got to have your minutes. You got to have bylaws. You got to have your what do you call it, charter? All this stuff. Yeah.
Right. And so, it was, and it's kind of funny because, as you know, I mean, you helped me out years ago in a couple of this. But, people will set up these storefront organizations. I don't want to harp on churches or anything like that, but everybody had an idea and they'd form a non-for-profit. And it'd be like Our Brother of the Sky, or, like Our Sister of the Pond, or whatever. And then they'd have and some of them have wonderful ideas, right? Then when it comes to getting the people together, this guy doesn't want to do this guy doesn't want to do that. So they never complete the thing. And there were all these charters out there that somebody had to investigate. And that's what I did. I investigated thousands of these a year. I'd have these hearings. But the IRS, when they got the record of charter, so they make you fill out for a determination letter. And, at the beginning, it was free. But now you have to pay money. You as a charity have to put your money where your mouth is. See, they figure they start charging you, and then people will stop this right at the start. Yeah. Oh no, So now they charge you hundreds and hundreds of dollars to fill out this determination letter, and then you provisionally are allowed to say you're tax deductible until the point in time where the permanent determination letter is granted. And then, this got to be like a cottage industry, where, and then you should, in theory, have a competent, accountant, and you should have somebody that keeps your books and everything. So anyway, and then you have to have an EIN number. And then years ago, you used to have to fill it out longhand. Now you do it over the internet. And then you get one letter and they tell you keep this letter because otherwise you got trouble, and this is your IRS. It's like your Social Security number for a company. It's your EIN number.
Employee identification number, yeah.
Yeah, there's a real long and then Marla and I touched on this on one of the shows on how to start a business and stuff like that. You have to then get the EIN number, and then you got to put that on your tax returns, and you got to put it on your state tax return. Then you got to get your state charter. So but it's all regulatory. And my point is, find out where their records are and ask them for their returns. And they should have it today on a disk or on a file where they could just email it to you and you could look it over yourself.
Well, here's the great thing about the internet and artificial intelligence, Paul, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I'm a big wig philanthropist, like billions of dollars worth of philanthropy and everything, right? And I want to give a considerable chunk of my change to some organization, right? Maybe I will personally look into it because it's going to have my name on it, my legacy on it, everything else, right? I'm going to put it into it. I don't want to be a George Soros lookalike guy, like, oh, George Soros gave to all these horrible organizations. I want to be the guy giving to the decent organizations. So maybe I'll look into it. But if you're only going to give like $100, $25 or something, hey, the internet's already done it for you. You know?
Right.
Letter rating of this charitable organization. And if it comes down D or F, find one that's A or B. You know, if you like the name of it or something, or you have some loyalty to the brand, maybe a C would be okay. All right. But to ensure, this is one of the things I want to say. When we're looking at membership, and I said they had that $2 million debacle twice in a row for an IndyCar, because we're headquartered out in Indianapolis, the Legion. When I believe that was a debacle, right? And 2 million, 4 million gone, right? That is at national level. All right. Down, look at these guys that are going to be out there. It's Memorial Day is coming up. Memorial Day is coming up. So you're going to have Legion guys out there, VFW guys out there, disabled American veteran guys out there, all sorts of veterans collecting, right? And usually the money that they're collecting is what they use to give their charitable donations to help other veterans, to help the community. The money that they collect on that day for poppies and everything else goes to their operating funds for charitable during the year, because we send most of our membership money goes up to national, right? So we have fundraisers and stuff to fund us through the year. And by that funding, I mean, like, we have a poppy contest with the kids. They draw pictures. So these grade school kids, it's awesome. You could check out post104.org, go to the Patriot page. You'll see all these pictures that these kids colored. It's awesome, right? And we give the winners like a $50 gift card. And then we give certificates out. I eat the ink and the paper and the document protectors for the certificates. That's like one of the ways I donate. I don't even take it off of taxes or anything, because I says, I like, I'll do it. Maybe it's $50 worth of paper and stuff. Don't matter to me. All right. But that's a grassroots level. All right. So go to your organizations. Hey, where are you guys out of? Oh, you got that there? Oh, you have meetings or something? Are you taking regular donations or something? So, like, we have a guy, Special Forces Association, good guy, old guy, very, very dignified. I'm like, man, I'm really impressed. And he gives money, and then I give him a tax letter, because we're a 501c19 out of North Carolina, using their EIN number. I got their tax letter, and I write him up a letter saying that he donated this much money, because he's going to write it off in his taxes, because that guy's got some bucks. Right, he can itemize. I can't itemize. I'm like happy that I get that standard deduction. I'm like, woohoo! Yeah. So, locally, you could keep an eye out on these guys, right? You could say, hey, I've got this local Legion or VFW, and I've given them all this money, and I never see them out there. They're not at the parade. I don't see them out at Veterans Day. I don't see them at the school. I don't see them participating in any community events. Nothing. They just take the money. That's the last I see them. Well, maybe they're doing good things with it. Maybe they're buying wheelchairs for the VA, right? Maybe they're buying wheelchairs for guys. Maybe they're buying entertainment for, like, the over on Oak Park Avenue. The Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs has a nursing home, assisted living community for profoundly disabled veterans over there. And that's funded by the state of Illinois. But, they only have so much funding. So some of these veterans organizations go in there and they throw little parties for these guys, have entertainment for them. It's helping other veterans in a way. But look at these grassroots organizations, right, in your community. And like I said, keep the money in the community. Keep supporting these groups in the community. If you want to join a veterans organization and you're a veteran, you could be in the community, or you could be a veteran at large. They got, you just joined the national organization or the state organization. and you never show up for meetings. You get a magazine, you pay your dues. You get to say that you're a member, right? You get an ID card, but you never show up for meetings or anything. Well, what good is that? You're just like, I want to do it. Join one of your transfer into your local group, right? That way, if there's something to do, you could be involved. That way, if the local group is doing something hinky that you think they shouldn't be doing, I'm not saying they're all angels, right? There have been a lot of groups where these guys have got attached to that money, right? And they have said, oh, well, since I'm the president of this organization, I do so much for it, I need to fill up my tank with gas because I'm using that gas to drive around to try to get members. I need to pay for my drinks at this bar over here because every time someone walks in, I ask them if they're a veteran, right? These guys, they get like that sometimes, and there needs to be protections, which is why, you're supposed to audit this stuff and the money, and that does happen. But on a micro level, compared to what happens on a national level, for some of these 501c3s.
Mike, I was just thinking about something you brought up a little bit ago, and you said about do your due diligence and look at it. Well, you know what? I'm going to just say this to the people that can, and I'm talking about some wealthier people out there, or some owners of companies and stuff like that. There was a TV show. A friend of mine used to bring this up to me. There was a guy named John Beresford Tipton. You know who that guy was?
No.
It was a premise of a TV show. It was on every week. He was like a millionaire, and then he would randomly give millions of dollars to people, and the question was what they were going to do with the money. It's a fictional TV show, 1950s. But let's have some of our John Beresford Tiptons out there donate some of the money to worthwhile organizations, that are helping veterans or helping people in need. And let's kind of promote that. You don't have to be a big hero, but you know what? If you're helping one person, you're a hero.
Yeah.
And let's have some people that have some extra pocket change or come into some money, or business people, maybe take some of the advertising budget and advertise in a good way, like advertise and helping a veteran.
Well, that's okay. So I get that kind of irks me. That's an irking on me because it's on me for one, right? I'm not from Schiller Park, but we have our post in Schiller Park, and Schiller Park's great. But me and the other active guys need to go around to these businesses in Schiller Park and shake them down. Literally shake them down. We're a post right in your village, right? We're a good veterans post, and we do a lot of stuff with the school. We do a lot of stuff with the community. And you got this poster up there that you're giving to 501c3 veterans organization. They sent you a good poster and everything else. I says, what have they done for our community? If you give the money here, it stays in the local community. We're going to help veterans and all that stuff in the community here. That's on me, right? Now, again, I said we had the fiasco, the boondoggle with this IndyCar, right? Where we actually, if you looked at his Facebook postings versus Legion Facebook postings and everything, we gave him more advertising than he gave us, right? Flat out. And we paid him to do that, right? So here's the thing. When we have Memorial Day out there, I don't see any advertising. Oh, it self-advertises, right? But National isn't taking that, say, hey, going on radio, like radio here, right? Like during the rush hour and saying, hey, it's Memorial Day weekend. Keep an eye out for your veterans, collecting for veterans organizations out there. Nope. Not a peep. Not a peep. None of these guys, none of these national commanders or anything calling in the radio shows. Hey, none of them getting on TV or anything saying, hey, on the nightly news, it's Memorial Day. They're going to be out there collecting for veterans organizations, and let's remember the guys that have passed since. Same thing with the Knights of Columbus. Tootsie Roll Day comes up. Nope. Silence. This is in Illinois, right? Silence. Zip. Nothing from state. Nothing from, the state chapter or whatever, right? Nothing down there. It's all on you. And then people are looking at you like, who are you and what do you do? They don't know because we're not out there. We don't have the radio voice. I mean, I got it here. Thank you to people like Matt here, the world's best producer. All right?
Absolutely.
Thank you to that and everything. Thank you for Dean for giving me this soapbox and everything. But, I'm one voice here, two voices, me and you. Grassroots. If you're a business out there listening to this, Elgin business, support your post 57, right? Or 257. There's an Elgin post out here, Legion. One of our posts 36 out of Des Plaines, they got a good relationship with the riverboat out there. There's those guys could really have some money to really support veterans, or they could support multiple veterans organizations, not just the American Legion. So, we're coming on for the last half hour talking about veterans organizations, right? And those that want to be veterans organizations.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
NBA Thursday, the Bulls beat the Wizards 119-108. Chicago playing out the string, so the Wizards, both teams, will miss the playoffs. Leonard Miller had a career night, 26 points. He matched his career best with 11 rebounds. Chicago able to sweep the two-game set. The Bulls host Orlando tonight. The Carolina Hurricanes pounded the Blackhawks 7-2. Carolina vying for the top seed in the East. The Blackhawks will miss the postseason. The Cubs were off Thursday. They're home this afternoon hosting the Pirates. Shota Imanaga gets the start as the Cubs look to make it 3 straight wins. 2-0 win for the White Sox over the Royals at Kauffman Stadium Thursday. Anthony Kay allowed 3 hits over 5 2/3 to earn his first major league win since July of 2021. Sir Anthony Dominguez picked up his second save of the season, and Chicago was able to snap a 14-game losing streak at Kauffman. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
I'm Chuck Sanders on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
It's tax time, y'all. If you want to file free, this next one's for you.
Now taxes is so free. Tax free edition only. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple form 1040 returns only. How this is tax.
Love that jam. Up next, commercials.
Intuit TurboTax Free Edition. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, student loan interest, and Schedule 1A.
As a social influencer, my days can be busy. 4 a.m., I hit the gym. 4:32, protein smoothie. 5:08, save time and money bundling my home and auto insurance with Progressive. Wait, if I bundle and save time, what would I do then? Just sit here and reflect? Like, why am I qualified to influence anyone? And how those weights are hollow? And half of my followers are bots.
You could save time and money bundling your home and auto when you switch to Progressive. It's one less thing to worry about during your already busy day. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Ready to tackle your junk piles? Call the Junk Luggers. From old furniture to entire cleanouts, we do the heavy lifting. And here's the best part. We rehome and recycle as much as possible to keep it all out of landfills. Feel good about your cleanout the green way. Call 1-800-LUG-JUNK or visit junkluggers.com today for your eco-friendly, stress-free service.
Before the weather gets too cold, it's time to finish up those outdoor jobs. That's why ComEd wants you to know that electricity can jump from a power line to you and to the tools you're using. So maintain a safe distance from any power lines. You can also call ComEd at 1-800-EDISON-1 to have those power lines de-energized the next time you do any work around them. Stay smart, stay safe, stay back. ComEd, powering lives.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast, brought to you by Rain-X, America's #1 wiper blade. Starting this afternoon, mostly cloudy with a high near 56. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 35. Looking ahead to Saturday, a slight chance of rain showers with a high near 56. Saturday night brings a chance of showers and thunderstorms with a low around 50. Currently, it's 49 and overcast. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
Something big is happening at Macy's. 60% off diamonds, 30 to 50% off the latest spring sandals and shoes, plus thousands more deals across the store. This is Macy's biggest spring sale, and these are some of the best deals of the season. The kind where you walk out wondering, how did I get all that? Really, don't sleep on this. Macy's biggest spring sale today. Savings off select prices. Exclusions apply.
Fixed Bayonets, comrades, this is Chief Guard of Republic Radio Show with your co-hosts Mike Tuman and Paul Burvin. And we're going to start out this last quarter of the show with a caller. Hello.
Howdy.
Howdy, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Listen, after this morning's, whatever you want to call it, the radio station screwing up as usual, I got disgusted and I turned the radio off, and I just turned it back on. I caught about the last 30 seconds of the time that you were talking there, that you were talking about veterans, and you were very emphatic.
I am. If that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, right. And you mentioned Post 57. I'm a past commander there, 50-year member so far.
Wow. It's a long time.
But anyway, I'd like you to back up a little bit, because you were pretty hot under the collar. You were talking about, people not sponsoring, not supporting the veterans, so on and so forth.
No, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. I says, one, if you want to sponsor veterans organizations, I say you should do it at a grassroots level. That you're going to have a local VFW or Legion post in your area. Go find out what fundraisers they're having and support them.
Yeah. We have a problem at Post 57.
Okay.
And that problem is that our membership is
declining.
Well, declining, yes, but when I was commander, we had something like 400 members, and they were active. At a meeting, we'd have 30, 40 people.
I'm jealous.
Lately, we've been having 12, 14, 18. Sometimes we don't have enough for a quorum.
Okay.
And the old World War I veterans are gone.
Yeah.
The World War II veterans, I meant to say, are gone.
And the Vietnam veterans are getting older, too.
Well, I'm a Korean veteran, so...
those guys. But you have, since 1990, there was a big push, right? And since, here's the thing, right? You got to get the word out there. President Trump signed the Legion Act, all right, which said that we're at a state of war since 1941. Before he signed that, if you were in the service during a time where there was not a national defense authorized, like you were in Korea, but you had a Korean campaign medal, all right? Or you had an expeditionary medal, which allowed you to join the Legion or the VFW. There was a time when some guys that were just over in Germany during the Cold War and everything, or some guys that just stayed stateside and never had a national defense, an expeditionary medal or a campaign medal, they were not allowed to join the Legion because you needed to be in during wartime. President Trump signed that. I don't think the word has gotten out because the press is, the mainstream media is very reluctant to report anything positive when it comes to their president. So it's up to us to get the word out to all these guys. I got a guy, our current commander, before 2019, he wouldn't have been allowed to join the Legion. But when President Trump signed the Legion Act, right? Now he doesn't have a National Defense Medal, but he's allowed to join the Legion. So he opened up a large pool of people that weren't allowed to join before. Now, a lot of those people have some heartache over trying to join and not being allowed to, all right? But now that has changed. So we have to get the word out to these younger guys. And the trouble is, what do we bring to the table to the younger guys? You know, what do we offer them? Other than camaraderie, hanging out. I mean, we got some old Vietnam veterans, and they've got some stories, and they're like mentors. For me, I'm 62. I joined the Army in 1982, right? I'm 62 years old, right? I still look at these guys as mentors. For me, a 62-year-old guy still needs a mentor, right? What do we offer the veterans out there? Younger veterans. You know, we're saying, hey, we support these schools. And one of the things I say to them, right, we go into the schools and we're wearing our little uniforms and we're talking to 3rd and 4th graders on Veterans Day, right? And you cannot go anywhere and pay for the look that 4th grader gives you because he's looking at you like you're a superhero. You're walking in there in your uniform, you know, you got a pot belly and everything, and maybe you got the beard going, but you have your Legion uniform on, you got your Legion cap, your service cap on, you know, and you're there with a couple other guys talking about what it was like to be in the Army and stuff. They look at you like you're a hero. How many people will get that look and can pay? I mean, you get it from your grandchildren, sure. But this is going in some stranger kid. All the kids, the little boy, the little girls, it's fantastic. That's one of the things I tell them. You come active and you come and see these schools and kids, right? Man, now you feel good about your service. You feel good about everything. You know, that carries you through the week. So what do you guys bring to the table for these guys now?
Okay. I've listened to you for a little bit. Now listen to me for a little bit. Okay. First of all, the VFW requires you to be a veteran of war. Okay, the American Legion does not. If you're in the military and you have an honorable discharge, and you can show that by a DD-214, which is your release from active duty, you can join the American Legion. And even if you are not a veteran, you can be in the Legion as a member of the Sons of the American Legion. In other words, if you have a parent, a father or a mother that served in the military.
Or grandfather.
Or grandfather, right.
Or grandmother.
The problem, as I see it, is that there are just too many outside activities to keep you busy. If you want to be entertained, you don't have to leave your living room. Between your computer and your TV set, you're hardly entertained. So what you have to do at the Legion, you have to have parties. Now, when I was very active in the Legion, I had a wife who loved to dance. As a matter of fact, that's how I met her at the USO. But anyway.
USO?
United Service Organizations.
Yes, we talked about that.
Pardon?
We talked about that during the show, and you're right, all right? It's a great place to meet. Do you have access to YouTube?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, you go to WRMN's channel, right? And we will be on there. You can see all the shows. If you go to CGR.silent.net, right? You will have, or just Chief Guard of the Republic on YouTube, run that on YouTube, and you'll see me and Paul up there. And earlier in today's show, we talked about the USO, and we talked about a lot of these veterans organizations. So, yeah, parties. I agree. I agree with that party. That's nice if you got a hall, right, that you can hold the party at, and you have dram shop if you could serve alcohol, right?
We got all that at Post 57.
Yeah.
But yet, and we're even open to the public now.
Yes.
But as far as activities are concerned, if we want to have a kids' effect like a Christmas party type of thing, to get volunteers is like pulling teeth.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yep, that's true. That's true. People are going to want to have to do it. You're going to have to joyfully want to do it. You can't get angry because you're doing all the work. If you're getting angry because you do all the work, walk away. No need to get angry.
We have a commander right now at the American Legion who's a great guy.
Good.
Came to us. He was only a member of the post since a year ago in November, and he wanted to get involved. He got involved. He volunteered when we were looking for somebody who wanted to run for commander, and he really got things moving. But he said he's not gonna run for the post again. He wants somebody else to take over, and the reason why is he's discouraged because he says we can't get people to volunteer to do anything. We schedule events and so on and so forth, and we have to arrange for food and entertainment and so on and so forth. And then we find out that we've only got maybe 30 or 40 people at the most that are going to attend, and it's not enough to cover the expenses. So he says it's very discouraging. But anyway.
So whenever you have an event, all right, you call into my show on Saturdays, noon until 2, and I will put the shout out for you for your event. And if you send a webpage or you send us a flyer, my main man here, all right, my producer, will throw it up on the screen for everyone to see. Mm-hmm. All right? You just call into the show. Like, you got anything coming up for Memorial Day?
I don't know. So normally we work in conjunction with the city.
Okay. My post in Schiller Park, I'm a former commander of Post 104 in Schiller Park. All right. We work very closely with the village there. We have very good relationships with them. Yeah, well, we like I say, first of all, we do get good coverage from the radio station there. But they're very happy to the people there that, and we're in constant contact with them. But it's a shame. Like I say, the reason is that there's too many other means of entertainment. You're dead on. I go to this Dunkin' Donuts Veterans. They got like 100 guys every Tuesday. I put it out there. If you want to travel into Chicago, it's in Niles, just east of Dempster, just east of Harlem on Dempster, 7039, Dunkin' Donuts there on Dempster. And my neighbor across the street invited me to go, all right? And he's a little older than me, and he's a Vietnam era guy. And I take him in there, and I talk to him on the drive, and he says exactly what you say. Okay, guys used to go there because you go to a meeting, and like it's not at a bar, but everyone brings a bottle or everyone brings some beer to share, right? And then you got a big TV there or something because you didn't have the color TV and you didn't have the cable TV and the fight on or the big game on or anything at home, right? So you go over there because it's too expensive to constantly drink at these big bars. And guys would come out and they would talk with each other and everything because there wasn't that instant gratification of entertainment at home. Via streaming services, anyone could go out there to Walmart and for $400 get a 5,000-inch screen television, and they got that there, and now they're in a bubble, right? They're in a bubble. So the only place they're going to really see us is when they're out in the public, right? And you got to glad hand these guys. You got to call. You literally got to call members and say, hey, you got to send out an email blast and say, hey, we're having a meeting. Show up for the meeting. Or we're doing this, or we're doing something. Yeah, I feel you, man. You know, people don't volunteer anymore. And you're like, what? This would be fun. Why wouldn't anyone do it? Because you're younger. They got different feelings. We're missing out on a whole crowd. The guys that were 18 in 1990, all right, that went over to Desert Storm, 1990, 91. Let's say they're 18 then, right? So now it's 35 years later. They're 53 years old. These guys are getting ready to retire, right? They should be getting ready to retire. That's the prime time for our guys coming into the Legion. Where are they? There's none of them. Very few. There were millions sent over to Desert Storm. There are millions that served over back then. Where are they? How come we don't? Yeah, I understand they have entertainment, but we really got to try to replace ourselves. We got to get guys out. My post, you know, no one's fighting to be commander. We got a great commander, Bob. I was the commander before him. You know, Russ was the commander before that. You know, when I got deployed the last time to Afghanistan, you know, some guy that was past commander had to step up. But, yeah, we have to find our own replacements. And if you find the hook to bring them in, please let me know. If I find the hook to bring them back in, I'll let you know. I'll let everyone know. This is the magic word. What you said, party's fine, that's great. But is it affordable for them? What do you bring to the table? They're going to look at what they get out of it. How is it advertised? You know, how is it advertised? Another thing I got to say, sir, all right, I don't know what your political leanings are, but a lot of people feel that these veterans organizations are all a bunch of ultra white right-wing guys, super conservative. Oh, they're veterans. They must be ultra super conservative. That isn't true. All right? We are non-political at my post. We don't talk politics at my post. I try not to talk real politics there. And no post should talk politics, right? Because you are actually, we're broken down 50-50 in this country. Some people might say 80-40, 60-40, but 50-50. So if you don't take that other 50% in, you know, you're losing out on 50%. So I've seen in the Army, I was 38 years in, all right? 38 years, Chief Warrant Officer 5 when I retired, all right? I seen young officers coming in that were very liberal, and they weren't onesies or twosies. There was a good amount of them, like 50% of them that were very liberal and very vocal about it. And if we are viewed as politically conservative, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. We have to be viewed as politically neutral. I accept everyone in. Got guys at Dunkin' Donuts veterans, Vietnam era, Korea era. They're liberal, right? I don't care. They're my brothers. That's a problem that I think we have to address as veterans groups as a whole, right? Is why aren't these young guys coming in? Is it because they consider us too right wing? And how do we fight that misconception? Because I don't think we are.
I don't have an answer. All I can say is that if you want to have a good time, if you're going to go to a bar someplace.
What's the address of your post?
On North Liberty Street.
North Liberty Street? So that's your Legion? What's the post number again?
Post 57.
Okay, post 57. Is it named after someone, or is this just Elgin?
Elgin Post 57.
Elgin Post 57 on North Liberty Street. What's your favorite drink there?
820 North Liberty Street, Elgin.
Yeah. So do they have gaming there?
You bet.
Okay, so you got a hall for rental, right?
That's right.
Yeah, see, now Matt's putting it right up on the screen there. All right, so how many, so if you want a good time, come out there. If you're going to hold a party or something, hey, why don't you consider doing it at the Legion Hall? They'll set you up right. You want to bring your girlfriend out for a drink? on Memorial Day, you want to see some real veterans? Go over to Post 57 if you're in the Elgin area. Stop by, say hello to the veterans. All right? Say, what's your first name?
Mine?
Yes.
Bob.
Bob. Say hello to Bob while you're there. Bob, the Korean War veteran. Those guys are few and far between. All right? They're, you got to see these guys and talk to them because they got some stories. Bob, what were you in the Army?
Submarine service.
Oh, submarine. Oh. Okay. So, yeah. That's some pretty, there's got to be some stories of isolation and everything, but yeah, being a submariner. Do you say submariner or submariner? Submariner. Yeah, we had a very famous president that was a submariner.
Oh?
Jimmy Carter.
Oh, Jimmy Carter?
Yeah.
He wasn't all that. He wasn't all that.
Well, you see, you got to listen. Okay, Bob, what did I say?
I'm not playing politics.
I know you're not. But you know what? If you're talking to some guy and he's kind of left or he's liberal, well, you got to talk up the veterans that were also liberal, like Jimmy Carter, right? He's a veteran, right? And he was a submariner, too. Right, so
I don't even remember if he was a Republican or a Democrat. So
he was Democrat.
He was also 100, too.
He was like, anyways. So
I joined the Naval Reserve when I was 17.
Okay.
With parental consent. But the interesting thing was, I went to Lane Tech High School in Chicago. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, I know. I used to work at Belmont and Western as a detective, so I'm familiar with Lane Tech High School.
Okay. Anyway, it was a tough school to get into, but I managed, and I was in the ROTC there.
Okay.
I didn't realize it at the time. They have the ROTC is also a college program.
Yes.
And usually at a high school, it's not a college program, but at Lane Tech, it was the same as a college program. So I didn't realize it. When I graduated, about 2 weeks after graduation, I come home and my mother says, "Hey, you got a big envelope in the mail here, 11 by 14. Looks important. Better open it up." It was a certificate, a commission to second lieutenant in the National Guard.
Nice.
I had completed the program. And I went to my commanding officer at the Naval Reserve headquarters down in, in Chicago, and I said, "What do I do with this thing?" He says, "Didn't you realize what was?" I said, "They didn't tell me it was any different, And he said, "Well, did you take an oath of office or anything?" I said, "No, I just was involved in the program. I liked the uniform, and I didn't have to spend too much money on clothes." And he says, "Well."
Okay.
About 4 blocks from the naval place there in Chicago, which incidentally the Silver Sides, which was the submarine that I trained on, was there. Anyway, the commanding officer says, you take this certificate. He says, go down to National Guard headquarters. Yeah. It's about 4 blocks on Michigan Boulevard down north of here. He says, and you talk to the officer in charge, and you tell him that you're in the Navy. They can't.
Sure, they could.
They have no hold on you.
Your officer in charge lied to you.
Pardon?
He lied to you.
Who lied to me?
Your officer in charge. That said that you couldn't transfer to the Army to be a lieutenant.
Anyway, I went down and I talked to, it was a major I talked to, and he says, well, I don't understand. The first time anything like this has happened, he says, let me check and see, I showed him my naval ID. I had no question. I had to take an oath of office. I had gone to a boot camp and all the rest of that in the Naval Reserve. So anyway, 5 minutes, he comes back and he says, it's very simple. All you have to do is sign a document here resigning your commission. And he says, I'm curious. He says, what's your rank in the Naval Reserve? I says, I'm just a common seaman. I've only been in the reserve for 8 months now. And he said, you would give up a commission in the Army?
It's a National Guard commission, so it's from the governor.
Yeah, he says you would give that up, to be the equivalent of a buck private in the Army. And he said, what is it? I said, well, sir, the fact of the matter is, the chicks really go for the Navy uniform.
Okay, that was a long stretch, but yeah,
And they bust out laughing too. So anyway, but that wound up in my record.
Good.
My Navy records, and every place I went, the first page as they opened it said former lieutenant in National Guard. And the first thing they would ask me is, what the hell did you do to get kicked out of the Army?
That's a good one. All right, Bob. Maybe one day I'll stop by Post 57 there and have a couple beers with you, all right?
Do that.
All right, thanks, Bob. And this is Chief Guard of the Republic. I hope we made it clear to some people the difference between, an actual veterans organization and organizations that claim to support veterans, but we do know that there are organizations that actually support veterans that aren't veterans organizations, and what the federal level, the federal, state, county, and city levels are, and how important the Veterans Assistance Commissions in the state of Illinois are. And we'll see you next week for the Chief Guard of the Republic show.
Bye-bye. Passion Sunday. Take care.